First, I also want to give all praise on Sabanawa, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Kakudash, the bond speak to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who have taught us this truth through the Spirit. All right, and we're going to deal with today's lesson. Going to deal with Genesis the 49th chapter. All right, and the tribes already covered previously were the tribe of Reuben, which are you Seminole Indians, the tribe of Levi, which are you Haitians, the tribe of Simeon, which are you Dominicans, and the tribe of Judah, being so-called Negroes. And today, we're going to cover two tribes today, Zebulon and Issachar. Zebulon, which in the Hebrew means a balaron, meaning dwelling, and Issachar in the Hebrew is Issachar, and it means he is higher. All right. And the first scripture I'm gonna get is Genesis 49th chapter and the first verse. And we'll do this. Then we're gonna go Genesis to the 49th chapter from the verse first. We're gonna jump to the 18th verse, going to Zebulon and Issachar. So Genesis 49 and 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, "Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days." Now, when the last days start to occur, the beginning of the last days was when Yahweh Shai came on the scene.
In time, this begins to seem to Duran like over.
So, like it, when Yahweh Shai came on the scene, that was the beginning of the last days when Yahweh Shai came on the scene, according to Hebrews 1 and 2. Okay, going right back to Genesis 49 and 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, "Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days. Gather yourselves together, and hear ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father." So Jacob told his sons what happened to him in the last days, and all these things happened to the Israelites that happened to him in the last days has happened, and now they have been recorded in the scriptures. And everything that Jacob said happened to the children of Israel, according to the Bible. All right, so proving that you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans are the Israelites, because everything that Jacob inscribed in this Bible that Moses wrote down, okay, has happened to you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native and Seminole Indians. All right. And we're going to bring it out through the scriptures, through the Spirit, probably how about Shino Shah. Now going to verse 18, going to verse 13. Zebulon being Guatemala to Panama, all right? Zebulon shall be at the haven of the sea, and shall be for a haven of ships. Now when you go and you look up the Panama Canal, right, you do some research on it, you get in it, they say about either 13 to 14,000 ships a year come to the Panama Canal from delivering goods and getting goods. All right, and when you have the Panama Canal, it's from South America to North America. It's bringing together, and then on top of that, I think it's right off the coast of the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, so it makes it easier to transport goods. It makes it easier to transport goods from wherever you want to go across the world. It makes it easier because the Panama Canal is where all ships, majority of ships go to either get goods or drop goods off. All right. So Zebulon shall dwell at the haven of the sea, and shall be for an haven of ships, and his border shall be unto Zidon. Now dealing with Issachar. Issachar is a strong ass couch between two burdens. Now Issachar being so-called Mexicans, and when you go to Mexico and you see the sign, or you go to Mexico and you in the sign for so-called Mexicans is what? Is an ass. Because what, the Mexicans are known for work, they're known for working, man. The so-called Mexicans are hard workers. All your bridges, all your roads, all your apartments, all your hotels, all those different things you see when you go in your downtown cities, when you go around the neighborhoods, right? Issachar 9 times out of 10 build those, or your highways you drive on, the roads, the sidewalks you walk on. Issachar 9 times out of 10 built those, all right? Because Mexicans are known for being hard workers. Issachar work 16 hours, you know, but they get less pay. But that's how they are. The Most High built them to be that way. So-called Mexicans can work. Okay, that's why you see a lot. Because that's how when I go downtown Nashville, we go out there to teach. They build, I think, either a apartment or a hotel, and you see nothing but Issachar building. On top of those cranes, working those cranes, you know, putting everything, you know, building the foundation, laying it all down, man. It's Issachar doing that, all right? So Issachar is known for being hard workers. Issachar is a strong ass couch down between two burdens, and he saw that rest was good, because you have certain fiestas when the so-called Mexicans they really enjoy rest, man. Right? I think it's around 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock hit, they stop working. I said, no, we do no more work. And they don't do. Then they continue to work at 4 o'clock. So Issachar, they love resting because they work so hard. At 3 o'clock, they stop working. On certain days, on certain fiesta days, they rest. They take a day of rest. Okay. And he showed that rest was good, and he in the land that it was is pleasant, and bowed his shoulder to bear it. And the land is pleasant, meaning the land of Mexico, because the land of Mexico is a very pleasant place. Now, I haven't been to Mexico, but I know, and I've researched, looked things up, and all the other brothers that went to Mexico have seen how beautiful Mexico is. And you can just go on Google and type in and look up Mexico and look up the most beautiful parts of Mexico, and it'll show you. Mexico is a very beautiful place. Okay, and he showed that the rest was good, and he laid in the land that was pleasant, and bowed his soul to deliver, to bear, and became a servant unto tribute. Mean a servant to tribute, because why? The Mexicans work for low wages, man. They'll go work a job, for less than any other nation would. That's why you see all these Mexicans out here working, doing all these big time infrastructures and laying down roads and pavement, building up houses. They're getting paid less for it, but that was part of that's also part of the curses. That's how we be able to identify who Issachar is in these last days, that they have certain characteristics about themselves. All right, let's go on to Deuteronomy chapter 33. All right, we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 33. It's Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 18. And Zebulon, he said, rejoice, Zebulon, in thy going out, and Issachar in thy tents. They shall call the people unto the mountains. Now, who's that talking about? That's talking about the tribe of Issachar. All right, which are you Mexicans? That they shall offer sacrifice of righteousness, for they shall. So sacrifice of righteousness meaning what? Because see, when the tribes first came over here, when you read that, I think it's the 13th chapter or the 14th chapter, right? I believe it's the 13th chapter, right? When it speaks about how when the tribes came from the Assyrian captivity all the way from there to North America, right? And they said they will keep the laws in this land, but eventually it started going off. Okay, but eventually they started getting sacrificed unto wickedness, which they were sacrificing each other, sacrificing flesh, eating each other, things of that nature. That was the Aztecs and the Mayans, right? So they shall call the people unto the mountain, and they shall offer sacrifice of righteousness, but they shall suck of the abundance of the seas and the treasures hid in the sand. All right, and that's dealing with the tribe of Issachar, right? So what they would do is when they would do these sacrifices, they would call unto the people. Who they calling? Zebulon. All right, which because the Issachar and Zebulon are close. They're very close. They're very close to each other. All right, they did a lot of dealings with each other, to give each other different gifts and things of that nature. They was very close to each other. All right, now when you go to Hosea chapter 8, it speaks about how they will give sacrifice of flesh, the Aztecs and the Mayans. All right, now this is the book of Hosea chapter 8. Bear with me 1 second here. This book of Hosea chapter 8 and verse 13. The sacrifice of flesh, they sacrifice of mine offering and eat it, but the Lord accepted them not. Now will they be now will he remember their iniquity and visit their sins. So the tribe of Issachar, the Aztecs and the Mayans, what they was doing, they was sacrificing of flesh. They were sacrificing to these other gods and to these other idols and things of that nature. The Most High wasn't pleasing that. And that's why the Most High used the Spaniards and the conquistadors to punish the Aztecs and the Incas and the Mayas. And really punish all of our people, because we all transgress against the ways of the Most High. All right? So this is going back to Hosea 8:13. They sacrifice flesh, but they sacrifice of mine offering and eat it, but the Lord accepted them not. Now will he remember their iniquity and visit their sins. They shall return into Egypt. For Israel have forgotten his maker and built of temples, and Judah have multiplied fenced cities. But I will send a fire upon his cities and it shall devour the place therefore. So the Most High said what? For your doings, the Most High gonna visit you upon your iniquities. And what happened? That's why you had the conquistadors, means conquerors, came and conquered the Aztecs, the Incas, the Mayas, and all the whole entire northern kingdom. Okay, all of South Central America, South America, they was conquered by the so-called white man. We know the Haitians, they was fighting against the French. Okay, Simeon was fighting against the conquistadors. Ephraim was fighting against the conquistadors, and Esau was going up down there and just ravishing the tribes, man. So all the tribes was taken down by the so-called white man. All right, and that was according to prophecy. But soon we live in a time where the Most High, Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, is going to deliver us from out of this captivity, and up out of the land of our captivity, up out of the land of our slavery, and put us back in our land, and we're going to possess our possessions in our kingdom soon to come. All right, this is only for a moment in time. This is because our punishment, because we went off and we transgressed against the laws of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. But soon we're going to be back in our rightful order as the sons of the Most High. Now we're going to go to dealing with this book of, I believe it's 1 Chronicles 12 and 32, dealing also with Issachar, how they knew how to read the times. Was to go really dealing with the Aztecs, because we go what you call the Mayan calendar, and when you go back to 2012, I remember I was on 2012. I was 11 in 2012, right? They were saying the world was going to end in 2012 because where they get that from the Mayan calendar, because the Mayans was known for being able to tell the times. All right, but that was a gift that the Lord gave the tribe of Issachar, which are the Mexicans. So now this is the book of 1 Chronicles, chapter 12, and verse 32. And this is the 1 Chronicles. Bear with me one second here. Now this is the book of 1 Chronicles, chapter 12, and verse 32. I'm in 2 Chronicles. Anyway, it's like here. 2 Chronicles. Hold on a second. So just go back. Yes, 1 Chronicles chapter 12, verse 32. And of the children of Issachar, which were men that understanding of the times and knew what Israel ought to do. So the tribe of Issachar understood the times, right? They could read the moon and the stars, and they knew the time of season we were in, right? The feast days, they knew all that. So that, what was the Aztecs known? They was known for knowing the times. That was their specialty. So that's how we also know that the Mexicans are from the tribe of Issachar, because the Aztecs and the Mayans understood the times. They knew what season we were in. They knew how to read the times. That was a blessing of the tribe of Issachar, right? But also the Mayans understood the times, right? And of the children of Issachar, which were men that understanding the times and knew what Israel ought to do, the heads of them were 200, and all their between were of their commandments. So that's dealing with Zebulon and Issachar. All right. And now we're going to go ahead. I'm going to get this book out of Lost Tribes of Promised Land, page 187. All right. Just a little more information on dealing with the Aztecs. All right. Now this is page 187. I'm going to get the point. Okay. Let me go up. Let me see.
With increasing frequency and conviction.
So with increasing frequency and conversation, Duran came to see elements of Judaic characters in the old Aztec religion. So Duran came to see elements of a Judaic character in the Aztec religion. Meaning what? The writings of the Aztecs. They had Hebrew writing. I'm gonna pull up an image of the old Aztec writing. They had Hebrew characters, which was the Syrian Hebrew today. It looked like exactly like the Syrian Hebrew today. Proving to you that they were Israelites. Okay, and read more. In the old Aztec religion, at first, this tense appears only as fervent search Jewish apologists proved by ancestors customs such as for the eating only of unleavened bread on certain days of the year. Now, when we know for eating unleavened bread, after the Passover, after the Pesach takes place, after the Pesach, you go to the feast of unleavened bread, which you don't eat anything with yeast in it. Okay, for 7 days straight after the Pesach, after the Passover, you go right into the feast of unleavened bread, which the Passover and the unleavened bread is both the same thing. But what it is, you just go from eating that. Slakia. So from the Passover, go right to the days of Slakia of unleavened bread, which is 7 days straight, was a feast where you're not supposed to eat anything with yeast in it. And if you have any yeast in your house, you're supposed to get rid of it, right? But you understand that we live in this time, and you have women that don't believe, and brothers understand. Just on those 7 days, you're not supposed to eat anything that has yeast in it. So these were some of the cups that the ancestors were doing. All right. Now in the days of their proclamation of drinking liquids after the eating of certain ritual foods, and the use of baths for purifying, and the time this being to seem to Daru like overwhelming evidence that the Indians are indeed descendants from the lost tribes of Israel, man. It's in the book. He said, man, these Aztecans do so many customs of the ancient Israelites in the Bible that they have to be the lost tribes of Israel. They have to be the 10 lost tribes of the children of Israel. How can they not be? They're keeping all the customs of the Bible. And when you read that, and Ezra said that if we're going to keep the customs of our father in another land, which also was over here in Americas, man, North America, South America. Because see, the tribes, they was not only in North America, they was in North America, they was in South America, they was all over North, South, Central America. So when they came and they seen this, they was like, wow, these Aztecs are keeping the same customs as the ancient Israelites. So they have to be the lost tribes of the children of Israel. All right. So with that, I pray this edifying. I want to give all praise to Yahweh, Yahweh, Ba'ashim, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Kakadash. With that, hey, the Bible speaks to Apostle Others and Great Millstone. With that, hey, Shalom.